Hi, my name is Shawn Shaler. This is my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter and other places, I assume. Those are the two places I know him as the Objective Geek. And today we have a very special episode for you because it is the Season 2 premiere. We are on to Book 2, Earth. We're going to cover the first two episodes, which are actually episodes 21 and 22. And actually we have kind of a weirdly large amount of other things to cover. But before I jump into those things, Chris, how you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, there's not that much going on. Everything for Comic Con is done. Don't have to worry about that anymore. I got a lot of feedback on how to wear the headpieces, because they're just different ways. I tweeted that out. Got a lot of good responses from that, so that's good.
Excellent. What you expected response wise, or?
Yeah, yeah. I just tweet out like, oh, here's four looks. Which one is the best? I think there was one with the hat. I need to wear the hat and the mask. It was probably in the glasses. Is probably what I'll end up doing for that. But other than that, everything is going fine. I never asked this question, Shawn. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's the opposite. Everything's crazy. We're gonna move. My costume for Comic-Con is not exciting. That's the least crazy part of my life, but it's ready. I've been looking, and I think I want to throw people off. I want to be James Potter, and so I won't draw the thing on my head, but everything else will be the same, and I just think I look more like James. And then when people are like, it's Harry Potter, I'll be like, oh, you're such an idiot, just to be that guy.
Good.
No, I'm not actually going to do that, but that thought has crossed my mind, that I look more like a James than a Harry. But we are moving. I'm excited. I've got to see the space that'll be my game room, and it's pretty exciting. But just, a lot going on, but good stuff. It's all very exciting. And yeah, that's really all. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. You don't have to ask that. I like asking you because that's your opportunity to talk about YouTube videos and stuff. So I'm asking you how you are, but I'm just using you. But I guess it's also for you, so it's really not that big a deal. Hey, look at that. Your latest videos. Chris, what are your latest videos you've been working on?
Oh gosh, I have a bunch of latest videos. My most recent one is a hot take, apparently. There's a video that I have about a theory of twin avatars and how it's actually possible. And it's not a dumb idea that even I will admit I thought was dumb at first. But I explain fairly thoroughly how it's possible. So check that out and comment and how much I'm wrong or right,
I also thought it was a dumb idea, but then we just spent 10 minutes talking about it while we were supposed to be testing microphones. So I guess there's some validity to it. Might be a good video topic someday. It'd be a good, easy discussion someday.
Yeah, I am all for. I think I did have a video idea of us just talking, you just completely disagreeing and trying to dismantle all of my theory videos.
It's like the spin-off series to your videos where it's the less exciting ones where we just talk at each other and then get mad at theories. I mean, I'm open to the idea. I'm just here to help you build more content. That's all.
Okay, yeah. I do have a couple other Dragon Prince videos out there. One is how Ezran can speak to animals in the Dragon Prince, and that one's fairly fine. I have one of my best videos out, which is what I think the real meaning of dark magic is and the possibility of light magic. So that's a really relatively popular video out there. Thanks for everyone who has watched that and commented on it. Got a lot of great comments, and even if they disagree with me, I always love those, no matter what.
As long as they're nice and they're you don't even have to be polite and fluff it up. You can just be like, I think you're wrong. But as long as it's that level of bluntness and no higher, yeah, it's that's okay. I can deal with that.
Yeah. And then I have about a Captain Marvel review, a movie that I thought was so-so. We got a 7.1 out of 10 for me.
I've heard so many differing opinions. I've got half of my friends, nobody hates it, but I've got half my friends went to it and they said, this is amazing. And then the other half are just thanks, Marvel. And so it's not divisive in a love-hate way, but divisive in I think a lot of people are just going to forget about it and move on, but other people really loved it. So, yeah, hard to say. I'm not that interested. I didn't see anything that caught my eye too much. But it's funny you mentioned that because I do have a reference to another Marvel video in my news set here. Also, I wanted to note that I think it was in YouTube. I might be it was either YouTube or iTunes. It was one of those two, and I searched Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I want to say that one of our videos, and it might have even been our top 5 videos from season 1, was like the 5th or 6th one down. I think it was iTunes, and it was that specific episode of the podcast. It was like the 5th or 6th one down. I thought that was pretty cool. Not that that means anything. I'm sure it just has to do with kind of the recency, but it's still very exciting. So go watch Chris's videos. I put Nerdstalgia Game Night on here because I had a game night in between now and the last time we did it. It was really fun. It was just like me and the other same 3 people that came last time. But it was really exciting because one of the guys that came had some really, not rare stuff, but just slightly more expensive stuff that I would never buy. So I got to play a lot of neat stuff, and that was very exciting. This is where I have another piece of movie news because I'm a little angry. I don't get too mad at Marvel movies. I don't care about them all that much. I'm just apathetic.
I'm very, very curious.
But this has me angry. I don't want an X-Men crossover. Don't take X-Men from me. It's the only Marvel movies. It's the only set of Marvel movies that I will go out of my way to watch is X-Men, Deadpool, and I want them to remain in their own universe. Because in my mind, I don't know how to say it. This is gonna sound so stupid. In my mind, that's a world that feels closer to real, and it's just very interesting to me. But when you take it and you bring in the larger Marvel universe, and I don't know. I hate it. And I just want to know your thoughts. I wanted to see if you felt the same way or if I'm way off here.
No, I don't think you're way off at all. I completely agree for somewhat different reasons, but I do agree with your reasons. I always felt like X-Men was better outside of the rest of the Marvel universe. Like X-Men's, the main theme and the story of it is acceptance for these people who are different because they have powers, because they're mutants. Where do they fit in with society? And then you have, the Avengers. Like they have powers. What's the difference between them and the X-Men? But they're all being glorified and everything. So to me, that just completely contradicts the theme of the X-Men. And also, we're gonna get less X-Men movies because Disney only releases 2 or 3 Marvel movies a year, so that's less content, and also it's just less competition. Like Disney is becoming freaking huge. Like this year alone, and the thing is, I can't complain too much because I'm excited for a lot of good movies. Sure.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, I've complained about it before, where I kind of have a legitimate fear that Disney will sort of take over the entertainment industry. And like for me, it's actually sort of a deep-rooted fear that they're gonna sort of rule the entertainment world. But if you're interested in a lot of their stuff, it's not a bad thing because they produce lots of great content all the time. They own it all. I don't know. It doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think competition is good. Competition forces you to be better. And Disney right now, like Marvel Disney can easily release a mediocre movie, like Captain Marvel, for instance, and it can make $1 billion. Like they'll release, if Dumbo's a terrible movie, it'll probably make $1 billion. This year alone, they'll probably have 7 movies that makes $1 billion. That is crazy, and it's good for them business wise, as business background. They've done freaking everything right, but I don't want to be too of a sour whatever. I'm sure it won't be that bad, but I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, I tend to get a little paranoid, but yeah, I didn't even think about it in the themes way. It's not that either one of them is extremely realistic, but there's just something about X-Men that always felt. I've complained before. I don't really like the grander superhero universe. I kind of like my superheroes close to home. Batman. That's why Batman is probably my easy favorite. X-Men. It's something about it just feels a little closer to home. So it almost feels like it'll be tainted to have a crossover. I would rather the X-Men as we know them right now. Logan. I didn't like Logan quite as much as other people, but it's still a very good movie. And it seems like a good way to end. I wouldn't mind seeing it just kind of cut off. Like if you're gonna cross over X-Men, let's start a new. I don't know. I hate to taint the X-Men that I know and love from 2000 to 2017. I guess is that when Logan came out. Don't ruin that X-Men for me. I guess, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I just probably won't watch it. I will be a sourpuss.
I'm sure they'll.
I won't watch it.
I'm sure they'll recast. I'm sure they'll recast everything and be a completely new universe.
Be sort of a separate universe of X-Men. That would be more acceptable to me. But
yeah,
anyway.
I'm 100% confident they'll do that.
And then the last piece of news, very exciting. We have 2 new friends of the show. 2 brand new friends.
Ooh.
First friend, I'll let you introduce the first friend of the show.
Oh yeah, Janet Varney. Me and her, we go way back to International Women's Day 2019.
Besties, basically best friends.
Yeah, basically besties. But if you don't know, Janet Varney is the voice of Korra, and on International Women's Day, as many nerds tend to do, they'll tweet out some of their favorite female characters. So I did, saying that Korra is one of the strongest female characters because she is strong, vulnerable, kind, relentless, a little brash, brave, and of course relatable. And I personally thank Jen Varney for giving her a voice, and she replied back, "I'm honored." And I completely geeked out in that moment, which is weird. Like, she's probably around my age, but still, it's really nice. And then I commented on her comment that my daughter loves Korra. Every day she asks if we can watch it, and then she didn't like that tweet, but she didn't comment anymore, which that's fine.
She didn't not like it. Hey, I think her response is perfect too, because so in my mind, as great as it is that she gives it the voice and she does an amazing job, I still tend to credit the creators, even with actors. I mean, actors make things come to life, but I always tend to give the most credit to the core idea. So in my mind, it would have been weird if she's just like, "You're welcome." Just, "You're welcome."
Yes.
I think "I'm honored" is a much better response, all things considered. So yeah, Janet Varney, great voice. She really does make Korra feel very real and relatable, and brings her to life better than anyone I can think of. But I also don't know a lot of voice actors. But thank you, Janet Varney, for being our new show friend. And then our second friend of the show is, actually, I've always just wanted to answer fan questions on our podcast, at least one, just to see how it felt. And I thought, well, I was literally asking. I asked one of our fan groups, not our fan groups. Sorry, I asked an avatar. I asked a fan group that consisted of your wife and my mom and my wife. Who am I kidding? None of those people watch Avatar. No, I asked a fan group. Yeah. I was like, "Hey, I'd love to answer a question on the show." Somebody threw me a bone. As I was typing, I was like, "This is dumb." But then the other part of me is like, popular podcasts literally ask on Twitter for topics, like not just questions. They're like, "Hey guys, what should we talk about this week?" I was like, "How is what I'm about to do any worse than that?" So I did it, and somebody responded right away with 3 great questions. So at the end of the show, we're going to respond to one of those questions that I feel is very pertinent. So thank you, Leland, for fulfilling my lifelong dream. When I say lifelong, I mean past year dream of answering a question on the show. Chris, that was a lot of news and stuff. Not really news, kind of news.
Yeah, gosh.
Any other stuff going on? Planet Comic-Con, 2 weeks, I think. 2 weeks. It's pretty exciting. Anything else up to that point?
Nope.
No? Awesome. Hey, let's get into these episodes, which, by the way, I am very excited for. Any cleanup from last time? Last time, I think we did just a top 5 episode.
No, I don't have any cleanup. I've only listened to part of the episode. And how can I clean up like a top list of episodes?
It's good. It had a relative to our regular episodes. Our regular episodes don't get that much viewership. There's no way around it. But those kind of one-offs, when we give them a catchy, more of a clickbaity title, I guess, for lack of a better term, like top 5 this or that, those tend to do well. It's performing well. I thought it sounded good. I went back and I liked our choices. It was good. And so my synopsis of these episodes is basically we're leaving the North Pole at the beginning of one of these episodes and getting into the Earth Kingdom. And that's really all I can offer for a synopsis. We just had a huge battle where Aang was the Avatar, and it was awesome. Aang was in the Avatar state and destroyed so many Fire Nation people. And you just have to go watch those episodes because they're amazing. It's the season finale of season 1. But now for these episodes, we're heading back towards the Earth Kingdom. And that's about as much synopsis as I can offer before just giving the summary.
Yeah, so Aang is having nightmares. He's really frightened by his own power, really. Like he's having nightmares of him being in an avatar state, causing all this damage. And then he, talks with Katara about it, and they're all concerned about it. Then we get, I think, an amazing introduction to Azula. What happens first? Is it? Oh, so she comes on the ship. All these people are bowing and stuff. And that was the cliffhanger from season 1, is that she was going to go look for Zuko, her brother, and Iroh, her uncle. And just the first scene she has with the commander of the ship about landing the ship on the tides, and
the tides won't allow us to dock the ship, to port the ship, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny to me that you like this scene, because
I love this scene.
I hate this scene. Oh,
I love this
No,
scene.
you go on. You give this scene first, and then I'll complain. That is customary.
There's one thing to complain about it, possibly big, but he says, the tides won't allow, and she says, "Tell me something. Does the tides control this ship?" I don't get it, Your Highness. So the tides. If I throw you over the tides, would they hesitate to, kill you into a million pieces? Well, no, they won't. Well, do what I say.
Listen to the person who's not decided on killing you yet, or something very clever.
Pretty much.
I forget. I wish we would have taken that down.
Yeah, that's fine. It is.
Why
don't
you worry about
one
of us that hasn't decided on killing you yet?
Yes, like this character's introduction shows that she is fine with killing someone. Like she's threatening killing someone on her own team. Like that's how much of a BA she is, how capable she is, and how much fear she inspires in people. All right, now what's wrong with it?
It's just too much too soon, and it kind of makes me think of, I want to say it was our introduction to Zhao, and I won't swear to that, but one of these characters that we've had early on, I think it was Zhao. I remember feeling just kind of overwhelmed by how over the top bad, I guess. I don't know how else to word it. Like it was way more dramatic bad than the situation called for. It was just too over the top for a person who I think is and does become a very good villain. This was like they had to like push so much, like, look how bad this chick is, and they had like we got 2 minutes to work with. We got to show everybody how evil and ruthless and mean just in 2 minutes. And I don't know, I feel like it hit me in the face a little bit. But let it be said that A, I like Azula as a villain a lot, and B, that is like my only minor complaint really with this episode. Everything else, so minor deal. It came out really strong, I guess. I think Zhao's introduction was kind of the same, if I remember right, just a little heavy-handed.
You know what's interesting though? Now that I'm thinking about it, so I think it can actually parallel a lot to Zuko and how he commands his ship, and just how much everything works in Azula's favor.
Maybe that was it. Maybe it was the introduction to Zuko, and if he was extra grouchy or something in that first step, maybe that was it. It was really early.
But if you remember in the episode "The Storm," which was one of my favorite episodes,
I do remember. I recall.
Iroh is warning Zuko that we have to put the ship in or something because the weather is going to be terrible. And he's like, no, we're going ahead. And of course, the weather is terrible. Azula is told the tide will not allow us. It will literally rip the ship apart. We can't do it. And she says, no, we're doing it. And it happens because everything happens perfect for Azula because she is perfect. I don't know if they purposely did that because I'm just now catching on to that.
No, that's a good point. But I think it was Zuko in that very first episode where maybe I had a comment of like, all right, they came off a little strong, a little too early. But there again, that didn't affect my feelings on Zuko in the long term, and it's not going to affect my feelings on Azula in the long term. It just, just initial impressions.
Yeah. All right, so the gang is leaving the Northern Water Tribe to go to Omashu. And they got to go to like this port in between.
Just like a general outpost. It didn't even have a name, really.
Yeah. And this General Fong will escort them to Omashu so Aang can learn earthbending from King Boomy. And then, they get introduced to the general, and he's very respectful to them. And he says, pretty much to them, "Oh, you have great power. Like, I heard you took out hundreds of ships in a matter of minutes. Like, I think you're ready to face the Fire Lord." And he says it so nonchalantly.
Pretty much like you. That was a really good impression there. It's pretty close.
And they're all against it. It's like, no, we have a plan. Like, we have to learn the elements in this order. And the general does bring up some great points in that, hey, the war, we've been at war for 100 years. You've been gone, essentially. And, people die in this war. Like, he goes to a clinic ward and he says, "You see those people? All those injured people? Those are the lucky ones." And the thing I absolutely love about this episode is I feel like the stakes have been raised from the last episode, the last season. Like, we're talking about death a lot. We're talking about the war a lot. And I feel like this season is a lot about the ramifications of the war.
Very direct references to death that most of the time, it's not that we avoid it, but it doesn't really just get pointed out right in front of you. Like, look at those people. Those are the ones that didn't die. I don't know if it's been that heavy-handed until just now.
Before it was like, oh yeah, the airbenders were wiped out. Like, saying people were wiped out is saying better than goes down a lot easier than people have died in this war. Those are the lucky ones, and they're injured.
And those people that were the airbenders being wiped out, like, there's not for AANG, but for everybody else, some time has passed. Now we're talking about people that AANG is staring at that were standing next to other people that died. Like, you're right. It's much more direct this time for sure.
Definitely. So AANG eventually agrees to it because he sees that, like, you know what, you're right. I can't wait. And they try to master the Avatar state for AANG because that's the only way that AANG actually took out those ships. So they go through all these things. My favorite one is when some guy tries to, like, put all the 4 elements in AANG. He goes, "Water," and put water in there. Earth, and puts some dirt. Fire and a flame, air, and blows like a fan in there. He throws it at AANG. It's just like, this is just mud. Like,
do you feel any different?
Yeah, different. Kind of fun when you would think that, like, putting all the elements together would make something amazing, but yeah, it just makes mud.
This is not a funny episode, but that little piece of comic relief, that's nice. It's a good throw in. This is not a funny episode, really, at any point.
One of the other ways they say is, like, pretty much to drink coffee. And AANG gets all hyped up and stuff. I have a feeling that Aaron Ehasz, who is one of the creators of Dragon Prince, maybe he wrote this episode. I have to look at it. I'm sure he had a hand in it because the writer's room has everyone really it's a very collaborative group. But in Dragon Prince, Claudia makes this brown morning potion, which is essentially just coffee. So
he must have a thing for it.
Yeah,
that's a good call. That's a great parallel. But I'm still a little hurt by Claudia, so maybe don't bring her up right now. I'm still a little heartbroken, actually. So it's too fresh, too soon. We'll talk about Claudia another time. Maybe the next episode, if we're looking for kind of a short one while I'm moving and playing at Comic-Con and stuff, maybe that's a good Dragon Prince time. Claudia, why? Why? Another time. I'm sorry. Go ahead. This really hurts.
Oh, so then AZULA meets up with Iroh and Zuko while Iroh's getting a freaking massage, which glad that didn't get creepy.
And it even kind of was a little bit, not crazy, but just a little. You know. He was enjoying it quite a bit.
And she tells them, like, "Oh, you know what? Father wants you back home. Father thinks that family is really important now, and there's conspiracies that people are after to get him. He feels he wants you home." And Zuko, like, definitely feels like, oh, there's a chance. Like, there's a chance I can go back home. And he is somewhat overjoyed with this, whereas overjoyed as Zuko can be, really. Of course, Iroh is completely skeptical of it. And I do love Azula's interaction with these two. Like, when she gets there, they're like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "Have you lost all your manners since you've been away from home?" Just her line delivery, along with
it's somehow
yeah, keep going.
it's somehow political and sibling y at the same time, which is probably what she's going for, right? Like, I'm here to ask you to come home because I have to. That's what she's trying to sell, and she sells it very well.
Yeah. So eventually, Zuko's really excited to go back home. Iroh's skeptical, and they kind of get into a little fight.
Yeah, Zuko's a monster.
Yeah.
All the respect we'd built up for Zuko at the end of the last season, it's gone already. He ruined it.
He essentially says that, like, things aren't always so happy in their family, and that his father wanting Zuko home may not be for the reasons Zuko thinks. Eventually, that turns out to be true when and they get onto the ship, and I love the way that Azula welcomes them. Like, she is putting on a show. She can act and lie with the best of them. Like, literally, she's the best liar in the world.
I believe that.
She says, like, it's time to go home. She says it in such a hopeful, like, manner. And then they're getting to go. The commander of the ship, who was down talked to before,
that idiot that she should have thrown overboard. She should have killed him. I don't know what else to say. Trust your instincts, Azula.
We're sending the prisoners home now. And it's like, what? We're sending the prisoners home. And Iroh goes off on everybody, and Zuko and Azula fight, and I absolutely love this fight. One thing is choreographed really great, and it shows just how capable Azula is. Like, Zuko is using all types of fire bending, and we've seen previously that she knows how to bend lightning, which was the first time we saw this in the show. She was practicing it. But she's not even bending against him. She is just outmaneuvering him in every single way. Like, so much so that she scratches his head with her nails. Like, he cannot beat her. Even, he cannot beat her with an arm tied behind her back. She's that skilled. And then, so what did you think about the fight?
This fight, but the larger episode in general, about a third of this episode is the ending climax fight scene, and it's all good. Loved all of it. It's great. I love the parallels back and forth between, which we haven't got to the other half yet, but this one in particular, I mean, I can't think of the choreography and stuff as much as just the end of the fight, which I won't spoil. I'll let you get to that, but it's such a memorable and somehow still expected way for Iroh to essentially end the fight. I loved this part.
Just skip past and fighting earthbenders.
You can separate it however you want. They're going on simultaneously, really.
So at the same time, I do love how their stories parallel. Like, both of them are somewhat betrayed by, at the beginning of the episode, someone they thought they could trust or be on the same side as.
Or that should,
so
at least. Whether they should trust them, that person should be on the same side. Trusting them may not be a good idea, but definitely betrayal.
So General Fong pretty much says, all right, the only way we can trigger the Avatar stay is if you're in the near-death experience. So, they're all fighting them and everything. And, Aang is doing an amazing job of blocking all of them. So there's that fight. And then, eventually, in Zuko's and Iroh's fight, it ends with Azula getting the upper hand. And she is about to kill Zuko here.
She's going to fire, like, close range. It's a kill shot, absolutely.
It is definitely a kill shot, or at least you are paralyzed or dramatically handicapped for the rest of your life type of deal.
I'm going to put you to sleep, kind of lightning.
Yeah. And Iroh, before she could do it, redirects her lightning and pretty much just straight up just, like, kicks her off the ship.
He redirects her lightning, and it destroys half of a mountain And then there's a pause, and I know
Yeah.
it could just be because it's an animated cartoon, but I like to think that they left that pause in there just as like a moment of surprise for like us as an audience, for Azula, like, oh yeah, Iroh is pretty good at this. And then yeah, he just kicks his own niece off a ship. He doesn't kill her. Doesn't It's really not all that violent if you think about all the possibilities that could have happened because it's still his family member, but he does kick her off a ship.
It's, it's just a straight kick to the chest. Like it's a hard kick.
It's
Like I haven't been
awesome.
kicked in the chest in a while, maybe ever. But
I cannot think of the last
that's
time
a
somebody
hard kick.
kicked me in the chest. Not
Like,
like a grown adult at least.
yeah.
So it's cool. It
So
shows
then,
a great magnitude of power in both of them. Like I said, redirecting the lightning to the mountain, it destroys it. All right, that's Azula power, but also clearly Iroh's got some element of control over it. And like I said, I
yeah.
like to think that there was a little pause in there, and I like to think that it's just so we could all be surprised and appreciative of what just happened before she gets kicked off the ship. When I say a pause, I mean like half of a second, just a normal frame of animation pause. But
Yeah. And, so on the flip side of that, the general figures out that trying to harm Aang isn't good enough, so he's gonna threaten to kill Katara. And Aang believes that she does die, which I love that moment. It's there's some great there's some great music in there, and just some great suspense build up. And then right when Katara goes underneath the ground, like Aang gets pissed off, and of course just Avatar state unleashed on everyone. And then he kind of has an out of body experience, and Roku tells him all about the Avatar state and exactly what it means, and that it is a defense mechanism, and the glow represents all of his past lives, channeling their energy through him, and he's kind of calling upon that power, which is amazing world building, by the way.
it so it's these fights are huge, and I kind of tried to gauge the amount of time that they took because they really were about a third of the episode together. But it's funny that that's really Aang turning into the Avatar and kind of rising up in that dust storm and that dust tornado that he's creating, or Iroh kicking Azula off the side of the ship. Like all that stuff, all this great stuff, and I did love it all. Those are really, I mean, they're the key sort of pivotal moments for each fight. And they're the things that I remember most is just when Aang rises up in that tornado, Katara's completely underground. He thinks she's dead. We probably think she's not. Like, what Nickelodeon show would kill off a character in the first episode of the second season? So we're pretty sure she's not, but he thinks she's dead. And then there's like hope in FONC'S eyes. Like, I did it. I got this kid to turn. And now he's just going to be okay with this. He's going to be my friend and help me win this war. FONC, this is a little off topic. FONC is a great, I'm going to say he's a villain. I don't know what the right word is. He's not really a villain. He's still on our side. He's a good guy at heart. He's got good motives, but that's the point. He's got great motives. The guy's been fighting a war. He's torn. He's trying to protect his friends and family and his soldiers. And all these reasons that he has are good. He's a tremendous villain. I love him in this exact episode. So just tremendous climax to one of these episodes where we kind of have two stories, but neither one disappoints. They're both huge. Either one of these stories could have filled up an episode all by itself, most likely.
Yeah, and then I do love the end there where an Iroh and Zuko get away, and like this was one of the most somber, really cool moments for me watching Avatar. Because they're both like at the river, and Zuko takes out a knife, hands it to Iroh. Like they both know what they have to do. They both know that things are never going to be the same again. They cut off their top knot ponytails, and now I always thought that represented like them being heads of the Fire Nation in the Fire Nation royal family, and now they're no longer like they've completely disowned that birthright now.
Are members of the royal family, for lack of a better term? I can't really think of any of the other Fire Nation off the top of my head that has that ponytail or little bun thing on the little man bun on top of Iroh's head. I can't really. In my mind, I saw it as like a separation, not necessarily from all of the Fire Nation, but sort of a separation from family, cutting off family ties, I guess.
It could be. It definitely could be. Because Iroh doesn't wear that until the finale. Like he doesn't wear the top knot until the finale.
it was very. I got to be honest. I kind of forgot about that piece. Still recovering from all the other things that happened. Yeah, it's very touching. A lot of touching, good and bad, between Iroh and ZUKO. We skipped right over it, but when Iroh accompanies ZUKO to the ship because Iroh is skeptical earlier in the episode, and there again, ZUKO kind of oblivious, blinded by this ridiculous notion that he's going to get to go home. He's not thinking about anything else, and Iroh's not really going for the sake of family. Iroh's going because he loves ZUKO, and so there's lots of little touching up and downs with ZUKO and Iroh in this episode. And even though ZUKO is a monster and he doesn't deserve it, at the end they have that moment together, ties it all together very nicely. Yeah, that's probably the end of that episode, isn't it? Having trouble remembering. I know. Fong asked him, or somebody asked him. He's like, "So you don't want us to escort you to Ba Sing Se anymore, or to Omashu anymore?"
Yeah. So
and Katara's like, "I think we."
So what happens is, what happens is Fong is like rubbing his beard, like, "Oh yes, we did it. We'll iron out all the details on our way to the Fire Nation." And then Sokka comes up on him and hits him with the boomerang.
Yeah, he's still like hopeful and happy with himself. Like, Aang just destroyed half the city, which granted is made of rocks, and they'll probably fix it pretty quickly. But Aang, like, he's not happy. What are you? But I love it. Like, the fact that I'm getting so worked up over that tells me he's really a great villain. At least I can't think. There's got to be a better word. He's not a villain, but in this episode, he's a monster. So, yeah, I liked Fong a lot. Yeah, and then Zuko. No, who am I thinking of? Sokka knocks him out with the boomerang, and then they go on their merry way to Omashu, unaccompanied. So that's really the end of this episode. Good episode. A lot happens in this episode for a season. For a season premiere, it felt like a lot of bigger things happened. Like there was no downtime really in this episode, and that to me was kind of exciting. So with that, let's get to your ratings.
All right, audio visual an 8.5. I felt like the audio and the score was really good, and a lot of moments, especially when Aang going to the Avatar state. Also we got introduced to AZULA score, which always has that just like that score in the background. I feel like it's just like annoying tingling going on.
Kind of a tinny.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe.
It fits her though, right away that it associates. It
kind of does the same thing that Joker's theme does in The Dark Knight, where there's just this background of like, but it's just slightly different. And the visually,
Fire Nation, but a little
Avatar
off.
State. Yeah, the visually angle in Avatar State, everything that was great. So 8.5 out of 10. For story, give that also 8.5 out of 10. We learned a lot just about the lore of the Avatar state. Even though it's added on to in Legend of Korra, I still feel like it doesn't contradict it completely. But as like Roku didn't mention this, but I have theories on why Roku didn't mention Rava. Even though it's all kind of has to be a retcon. Like they didn't think of Rava at this point.
They weren't. Yeah, we hadn't had that developed yet, but we can rationalize that he didn't want to overwhelm Aang. Like Aang got the gist of what he was saying, so we can rationalize it. It's okay.
Exactly.
And I mean that legitimately. Like thinking back, like that's how I would fill that canon in. Is no, Roku's not gonna overwhelm this kid trying to save Katara right now. He's got other things going on.
Yeah. So the story was great. Loves that ending there of like that Zuko and Iroh are now traders and they're on the run. And also love Azula's ending, which I forgot about mentioning. Like she says that they're wanted. Like she tells a Fire Nation village that these are. I guess they're probably in some colonies, if I had to guess.
I think it's a Fire Nation colony in the Earth Kingdom.
Fire Nation. Yeah, has to be. That these are now enemies of the Fire Nation. So that's really cool. For memorable, 8.5. So I keep it fairly simple. The most memorable part of this episode for me is when Aang goes to the Avatar state and Roku tells him all about it. And also, love Zuko's introduction. Don't care what you say, Shawn.
You said Zuko, so you don't even care.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You meant it. It's dumb. No, it's fine, and I really like the clever line. Just, I stand by it. It's over the top. That doesn't mean it's too bad. So it's fine.
That's fine. 8.5. You can do math. There we go.
Pretty good stuff. Audiovisual actually went a 9. I mean, all the reasons you said. There's a lot of really big, exciting things happen here. It's really cool. 8.5 on the story. There again, what you said. Honestly, I think you could make a case on both of ours that maybe 8.5 is a little soft. There's a lot of good stuff
I think so.
that happens in both sides. But so point is, it's very good. Memorable. There's a lot of memorable moments. But if you ever came to me and asked me like, hey, what'd you think of the season 2 premiere of Avatar: The Last Airbender? I would like, even if you told me the name of the episode, so I guess that's why it knocks it down a little bit. It's not necessarily memorable as a whole episode, but a lot of good things in there. 8.0, that's not a bad score. Rounds out to 8.5. So if you're real good at math, you figure that one out. 8.5. This is a very good episode if you remember any of our rankings from last time. 8.5 coming out of the gates. That's pretty strong stuff, especially for a one-part episode. We had found last time, as you might expect, that two-parters, yeah, those tend to score a little higher. So 8.5 out of the gate for a one-part episode, that's a pretty big deal. And then, I'm not going to waste any time. Let's roll right into the summary of the next episode, which I am so excited for. It's called The Cave of Two Lovers.
Yeah, so it's a good episode. Starts off with Aang Katara training. Katara taking her master title to task and training Aang. And there's a little chemistry in there, Yeah. Aang blushes a little bit when Katara gets close to him.
in their underwear in the water.
Yeah.
Not really.
What's interesting is that I have a feeling that they got more money this season because there's a lot more character design variations.
There are.
You see Katara with a swimming suit on, and you see Aang just in underwear. You see Sokka with his hair actually down. I think they were able to add a little bit more nuance to these characters rather than being typical cartoon characters who always look the same way no matter where they're at, no matter what time of day it is.
There's no way I would have noticed unless you said that, but now that you say that, I totally agree. It seems like there's already just a little fuller detail in some of these things, or fuller variants maybe.
So then they have to make their way to Amashu. And to parallel the story, which these stories don't cross over at all, which they haven't crossed over in a while. Yeah, they go a long time without seeing ZUKO, now that I think about it. And they mention it whenever the next time they do see him. But ZUKO and Iroh have to deal with being refugees, and and they pretty much they want to go and kind of hide amongst the Earth Nation because that's better than being captured by AZULA. And you can tell Zuko's kind of pissed off about it.
He is not taking it very well.
He seems far more entitled, especially in this episode. It's I'm not supposed to live like this. Yeah. And then they meet a nice little family, and I really loved a lot of this episode because it continues the theme of putting war front and face. And making it really significant. They come to this family, and this girl, her father is gone off at war, and it's interesting because when she says that, Zuko says, "I haven't seen my father yet either, and I haven't seen my father in years either." And they're like, "Oh, is he in the war also?" And he's like, "Yeah," or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty subdued, but I think you got it.
Yeah. And then also she shows oh, I've been burned. And Zuko is really shocked by how burnt she is, and it's a great mission and journey for Zuko to be in Earth Kingdom to see exactly, hey, this is your dream. All right, your dream is to run the Fire Nation. You're completely fine with this war. These are the ramifications of war. These are actual people that you're dealing with here. So it's just and he doesn't learn this lesson here either, which one thing I always loved about Avatar, and they always say, the creators always say, is that everything has to be earned. Bending can't just be just pure magic. Everything has to be earned. You have to learn it. You have to practice it. That's human nature. So really love those moments with them as refugees.
I will say, so you mentioned this episode keeps that theme And that's probably a good theme for this whole season, is it's kind of presenting the keeping the war front facing. Still it's still a kid show. It's still in a kid appropriate way, but putting it out front and center. But it is worth noting this episode is like the yin to the last episode's yin. The last episode, it's not a funny episode. It's very serious, very constant kind of drama, high tension. Not this episode. You get a few touching moments, but even those moments, like with ZUKO and that the girl from the other family, touching maybe, but not dramatic. It's not tense at all. This is a goofy, silly, fun episode. It's a flip side of the previous one. But yeah, there's that family of refugees. You can tell when, let's say, it plants a seed. So it's not like ZUKO learns his lesson, but plants that initial seed of, this is what I'm doing to people that are just like me. He's talking with this other human that's just a good human, and he can see what his work, I'm going to call it his work, firebending, has done to this girl and his family. So let's say it plants a seed of learning from learning his lesson, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And then I'll let you describe the B plot or the A plot, whatever the other plot.
The other plot. This is the great plot. So I don't know why. I do know why. It's because it's funny, and I like funny things. I like silly comedy. So they come. So Katara and Sokka and Aang and Appa are essentially, they're gonna fly over this mountain to get to Amashu. They meet these just traveling. They call themselves nomads. They're just hippies, and the hippies mention this cave, this maze of caves underneath the ground. And Aang's like, you know what, Appa, I think the fastest way will be for us to go over. And Appa doesn't really like caves, but thank you. And so then they don't really even show that much. They show like 2 seconds of the whole team flying through the air, just being like bombarded by giant Fire Nation fireballs and things. It's your mind almost can't even understand why it's doing this, because Avatar never does this. But it's like a 2-second cutaway, and then you just see Sokka angry, followed by like a battered crew, and he's like, "Angry Death Caves, let's go," or something like that. Like, all right, we're gonna go underground. And so they're traveling with these nomads who are just, this whole episode, just getting on Sokka's nerves. But they're very well-intentioned people, ultimately trying to help them get to their destination. And one thing that I want to do is, the nomads sing quite a bit, a lot of goofy, wacky stuff. So hopefully this gets to stay in the video online. I hope it does. But I went ahead and I pulled up my favorite personal song from the Nomads, and it's going to be about 30 seconds. Chris, you won't be able to hear it. I'll just key back in when it's over. But here are some of the acoustic stylings of the guitar nomad.
Two lovers forbidden from one another, a war divides their people, and a mountain divides them apart. Build a path to be together. Yeah, I forget the next couple lines, but there it goes. Secret tunnel, through the mountain, secret tunnel, yeah.
Okay, so 2 things. First, I'm laughing hard at the song because it's funny. Second, I'm laughing because not only can Chris not see, he can't see me. He sees a black box. It's hard to explain. But Chris only sees a black box, and he also can't hear that song. So I'm over here like bobbing my head and humming to myself and laughing to this music that I can hear. Hey, Chris, you're just staring at a blank screen. I'm really sorry. Anyway, that was the secret. That was the secret tunnel song, which describes the secret tunnel. But it's important that he forgot a couple of those lines in there, because they're pretty key lines that have to do with the fact that the tunnel is actually a series of horrible, horrible mazes. So, long story short, they get all the way inside the mouth of the cave, so to speak. The Fire Nation, they're like, "Hey, you guys heard the song, right? Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll just trap them in the caves and they'll die in there." So they trap them inside the cave. And the rest of this story is essentially them trying to find their way out of this horrible cave maze, that they didn't really know everything that they should have about because he forgot those 2 lines or whatever to the song. So they didn't really know what they're getting into. Basically a giant death trap. So it seems silly, but it's actually kind of pivotal to the plot. I think they know the caves were deadly. They mentioned that earlier. They allude to that. But I don't know if they appreciated that it was a giant maze the way it is. And so like I said, I appreciate those missing song lines. Well played, episode writers. And so, yeah, then I can let you pick it back up from here. That's my go-to part of this whole episode and maybe of this whole season, that song and getting in here. But they get into the caves and they get separated, and then a lot of fun things happen too.
Yeah, they get separated. Katara and Aang go in one spot with Appa, and then Sokka is stuck with all the nomads. Like when I watched it today, when the there's gravel and rocks and stuff, all around there, Sokka goes and he just tries to dig out. I'm thinking at first he's comedically digging to save Aang and Katara. But no, he's just digging to get out and get away from them.
Oh, poor son. They're his exact opposites in every possible way.
Yeah.
It is cool though, and
I love the part where.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I love the part where Sokka's trying to come up with plans, and then with ideas, and then the guy goes, "Oh wait, we're coming up with ideas? I had an idea for an hour.
I had an idea for like an hour."
It's like, yes, we're coming up with ideas. Why do you think?
I guess it's just
and then, of course,
it's just the kid in me. Yeah, it was a terrible idea. It's just the kid in me, but I really love just that style of humor in this show. I love. So they're putting the torches together, and what do they have? Do they have 2 torches
like 5
and they
torches.
last 5? Oh, 5 torches and they last 2 hours each. So they'll last 10 hours, but they have all 5 of them lit.
We'll just light all 5. That's not how that works.
That's not how that works. So this is all, in the grand scheme of things, as fun as I think this is, I understand it's not important. All that is one big distraction to get Aang and Katara alone. Is really all it amounts to. But then that's really cool because when Katara and Aang are alone, they stumble on the tomb of the lovers who turn out to be Oma and Shu. And then that story, it's not extremely important to the grand scheme of Avatar, really, but it's a really cool story about these 2 lovers actually did exist. It was real, and the tunnels were really built for that purpose. And then when the male, I believe, died, the female just goes on like an earthbender insane rampage where she could have just killed everybody, but instead she brings them all together and they build one city together that became Omashu. So it's a really cool story, and like I said, it's not really important in the grand scheme of things other than I don't know if they said that. Did they say she's the first earthbender?
They say that both of them were the first
Both
earthbenders.
of them were the first earthbenders. So yeah, there's like I said, just some really cool early old storytelling there. And then I forget what the phrase is.
It's
Trust
funny
and love
because-
will light the way. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. It's funny because Legend of Korra, like in beginnings, they don't show any earthbenders. And so I feel like they can still say that, all right, these were the first earthbenders. But also in the commentary for this episode, I think it was Brian Kanisko.
The commentary
I
that
love
exists,
seeing
or is
how,
this one of those commentaries that just exists in your head?
No, it definitely exists.
Okay,
I've watched
that's
it
real.
at least in the past year.
Okay, got it. Good.
I'm
I'm just messing.
valid
I'm
question.
sorry, that joke was poorly placed.
But they say like, oh yeah, I love how these myths are created, and you might imply that like he's saying that origins of things aren't necessarily exactly what happened, but does that really matter because that's the myth and that's what people believe.
And that's what gives it the intrigue or the longevity. If it's boring, people aren't going to remember. Let's be honest, people don't remember boring things. So yeah, that's why the interest is there. And then I forget the phrase, but part of the song, or a previous song actually, it's a different song, is that like love and trust will light the way. And so then Katara and Aang get into the silly, which is probably my least favorite part of the episode because it's so childish and dumb. But they get into kind of a fight, like, oh yeah, I guess I would kiss you if I had to. Would that be so bad? Blah blah blah. But eventually they do kiss, and it does light up the.
Or do they?
Oh yeah, they definitely kiss. Things happen.
You know, I was thinking about making a quick theory video on this. I was like,
even if you had good evidence. Even if you had good evidence to the contrary, I would just argue until we stopped arguing, because they do something, and then the path is lit up, and so whatever you want to take from that.
The thing is, that title's so clickbaity that it would honestly probably get more views than the rest of my video.
It was, and because it's about such a pertinent topic, that like all the Zutara fans would come out and be like, "This is the beginning of the end." All those people.
Yeah.
That would be, maybe we'll do that just as a clickbait video someday, just to drive some viewership. That'll be fun. And then, but then on the other side, so we've kind of gotten away. You sort of covered it from the beginning, but Iroh and Zuko essentially get to have dinner with these refugee family. Not a ton more comes of it. We already talked about when the girl shows Zuko her leg and the burns. I don't really recall that we see just a whole lot after that, other than them leaving in the middle of the night. Just time to move on and make sure this family isn't hurt by firebenders chasing them and that sort of thing. So not a whole lot else happens after that. But Katara and Aang get out of the cave, and then Sokka manages to get out of the cave, which nobody... Oh, yeah, the badger moles were the teachers of Oman Shu to make them the first earthbenders. And essentially, Sokka and these idiot nomads get attacked by badger moles. And fortunately, the idiot nomads, the music, is what subdues and mollifies the badger moles. And so then they're able to get on the badger moles and ride them out of the mountain to safety. And then the other part of that I also liked, there's no direct implication there, but I really appreciated how the nomads are singing songs about this story that, you know, may or may not have happened. But the fact that the music also kind of mollifies the badger moles was just sort of interesting to me to think about. I wonder if Oman Shu had to use music to sort of subdue them the first time in order to use them, and that's just kind of a neat carryover. So everybody gets out at the end.
Badger moles do love music. It's proven in Legend of Korra when Prince Wu uses music to control badger moles.
I absolutely forgot about that, but I also haven't watched The Legend of Korra in a very long time. So, just there again, I know I have a weird thing for this episode, and I'm not really sure why. And a lot of it's not extremely important in the grand scheme of things, but lots of fun little this and that's in this episode. But in the end, everybody gets out of the mountain. Zuko and Iroh have to leave this family of refugees. It doesn't say directly, but probably for that family's safety, I would say. You just stay on the road. And that's really the end of the episode.
Zuko did steal their horse ostrich thingy.
Oh yeah, the weird horse ostrich. Yeah, I recall that.
Yeah.
Which I assume is a big deal, right? It's like stealing a beast of burden, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, that's their entire lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that thing does a lot. It probably, helps out on the farm.
You stole their tractor, essentially. So that's
/ ostriches, dude.
I wonder why they... I mean, I know, like, for speed, but I don't know. Are you really gaining that much when you're two fully grown people riding an ostrich? Like, maybe. Thing looks pretty sturdy, I suppose. Anything else to add before we go on towards scores?
No, it's a great episode. So
it is, in a different way. And you called it immediately. We're kind of flip-flopped on these episodes, but the main point is that we both like both of these episodes quite a bit. It's probably key. But yeah, we're flip-flopped.
Wait, these aren't my score.
Did I mess them up?
This isn't my...
Oh, you know what this is? This is the... Hey, you really... Look how much you like that episode. I bet that's there... I'm sorry. I bet that's there from the finale of the previous one.
Yeah.
I wonder if I overwrote your scores onto my scores. I hope not. Oh gosh. All
There's only
right.
7 in there. I probably did.
All right. You pull up your scores, and then I will. Don't worry about me. I'll just get our scores over here. I hope I didn't.
Wait, I'm not.
Yeah, just if you pull up your scores on your phone, maybe. Okay, I've got them here. If you want me to lead you in with them, how about that?
Okay.
So you gave audiovisual an 8.
Audiovisual an 8. The tunnel was really nice and everything. With the visuals of the lights going out, and then audio wise, the music is really great. Story wise, I think I gave it like a 7.
Story gave it a
7 and a half, maybe 7.
No,
give it
7 flat.
Because really, you could just take this episode out, and you'll be completely fine without it. I do think the ZUKO stuff is really good, because I love just more of that theme of war in there. But then the Katara and AANG stuff is fairly unnecessary, only to build up the relationship that they have. Yeah. Which has already been built up in a couple other areas, so it wasn't all that necessary.
Yeah, but in this one they kiss, Chris. They kiss in this one.
Or do they? And then memorable.
Next time on Podcasters.
And memorable. I'm sure we're going to disagree here. I think I gave it an 8.5 or an 8.
8.5. Absolutely.
8.5. It is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. It's one of the funniest episodes. Probably the top 5 funniest episodes of the series. Comedy's priceless, and that's really what sells this episode memorable wise, I think.
We don't have a comedy section, so don't hold us to that number, but I would tend to agree, absolutely. And so I hope I got the overall score right at the end of both of ours, but yours ended up at a 7.8, which that's no shame there. That's a good score. So I gave, it looks like. Oh, see these. Dang it! All right, so I put your scores on mine, and I put nobody's scores on yours. Okay, well you'll just have to imagine mine. So I gave audiovisual at 8.5. So just a little higher than yours.
You'll just have to imagine the scores. Sorry.
No, it's what better place to use a Bane quote in this podcast? You got to take the opportunity. No, I gave audiovisual an 8.5. Same things. There's not a whole lot going on aesthetically, but I do love the songs, and that's audio, so that counts. Story, I gave an 8.5. So this was our biggest difference. And it's just another one of those cases where we've talked about it before. I tend to like it when stories do kind of stand alone. Now the sacrifice with that is that sometimes it feels like you could just sort of pick them up and plop them anywhere. But in and of itself, the story of them getting from one side of the mountain to the other, and some of the history of Oma and Shu, it's very interesting, even if it's not impactful to the grander series, which is why I didn't score it higher. And then for memorable, I gave it a 10. When people ask me,
of course you did.
When people ask me like things related to my favorite parts of Avatar or favorite episodes or whatever, this is one of the few. Hey, it's one of the few that I remember the title of the episode, so that's pretty telling by itself. And B, it's one of the ones that I reference pretty frequently. Is like, oh, we didn't even cover it, so I have to step backwards and cover this part before we go on ahead. But just all of his little songs, like the comedy. And then even the ZUKO and Iroh piece, it's kind of deep and touching, and you're entering sort of a new chapter of their lives. So I think about this episode a lot. So it's a 10. The thing that we didn't mention is when they get out of the caves, and then Katara's like, hey, Sokka, how'd you get that red mark on your head? And then the crazy nomad guy comes up, and he's like, hey, nobody freak out what I'm about to say. But I think that kid might be the Avatar. And then Sokka slaps his forehead where the mark is, and it just I don't know, it just all that's the thing. What brought that up is that's the thing that I remember more than anything else. I say that frequently out of context. I'll be like, people, nobody freak out at what I'm about to say.
That is a perfectly set up and executed joke that I think I've ever seen. Like you introduce the punchline first. Yeah, with the red mark and everything, And then the guy comes over and says, "Oh, it's dumb." And then you go back to the punchline with
a very literal punchline. It's
face.
important they've been setting it up all episode too. Like that's at least the third time I think probably, if not more, that he has done that on screen. So it's not like a slap in at the end. It's like they build it up to that. So that's the most memorable piece to me. But
and then the guy hugs Sokka.
And he's not having it. Yeah,
He's like, just play your song.
Just play your
songs. Oh, good idea. And
then, okay, so I don't remember what they say. It's something on the order. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's something like, "Hey, we're gonna go to Ba Sing Se. You want to, or go to Omashi? You want to come?" And they're just like, "Nope." And that's it. Nope.
So you traveled here for no reason.
Went through these caves and almost died for nothing. Hey, I just remembered the last words of that song. And died. And I was like, I think the picture I have, that picture there, he's like strumming that last lyric that he finally remembers. So again, I know it's kind of silly, but just when people ask me about Avatar, if it's related to favorites, usually this is one of the earlier things that come to mind. But I accept that it's totally based on sort of bias and preference, but I absolutely love it. So great stuff. Two great episodes. You can't go wrong with either. I like both a lot. You liked both. You definitely liked the first more, but you liked both a lot. So good stuff. Good way to start. Hey, wait, before we get out, I feel like this is the appropriate time to do. I'll bring our screen back up so it looks pretty. Our listener question. I'm going to call it a listener question. I have no idea if she actually listened. But since we just finished our top 5 episodes and we just finished the first season, one of Leland's questions was it Leland or Leilani? Oh, I feel terrible. I can't remember. Was which of the episodes made you decide that you were going to watch the rest of this series? Or which of the episodes of Avatar? I can pull it up here. I want to get it right. I've already butchered it enough because I feel bad and I can't remember her name. Why didn't I write it down? I'm dumb. Do you remember how it was worded? Oh, here we go.
Thank you.
What was the episode in Avatar: The Last Airbender that made you decide it was worth watching? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think it was the Southern Air Temple, where Aang goes and sees the temple. He sees the body, the remnants of Mangyatsu, and he gets angry. I'm a sucker for characters' rage turning into power. It reminded me a lot of Gohan from Dragon Ball Z, and absolutely loved the fight that Zuko has with Admiral Zhao or Commander, whatever he was at that time.
I mean, Batman is basically rage turned into power in a different sense.
Yeah, pretty much. And I just love how that fight unfolded and how it ended. And the animation in that fight is really good. Like they play a lot around with color tones in that episode. So I think that episode was like, okay, this is going to be a little more advanced than other cartoons. I mean, it didn't, it will hit more other levels as it went on. But that was one that, like, all right, I got to keep watching this show. I think that might have been the first episode that I watched, and I went back and watched the pilot, actually.
I think you've mentioned that before, that you maybe missed that first week where they had the back-to-back premiere.
Yeah.
Winter solstice, excuse me, for me. I watched it all up to that point, and it's like, yeah, I probably would have continued watching it. But I think at that point it became more of a dedicated thing. Like, yeah, I definitely have to finish it. I was in college at the time. When I remember this episode, I think I had seen most of them prior. But in terms of actually having that thought of, again, going to sort of dedicate some time to this, Winter Solstice, it really ramps up the story, really ramps up the action, ends in a great scene, stakes are very high, lots of stuff going on. Just a nice precursor for the big things to come. So, great question. Thanks for indulging me with several great questions.
Thank you.
In my ridiculous request. My life feels fulfilled now. And
Yeah, who do you think you are? You're on iTunes now. Now you're all uppity ass and
I know. As soon as you get on iTunes, you start expecting people. Like I said, is it really any worse than other podcasters on Twitter? And I'm not blaming them. That's great.
No,
well, they'll just be like, "Hey, what do we talk? What's the topics this week?" I contribute when possible to those topics because that's the kind of human I am. So, yeah, good stuff. Good episodes. Chris, I will talk to you in 2 weeks, which will be like 2 days before Comic-Con and 1 day before I move. So it might be crazy, little things going on, but we'll do something. Maybe we'll do a shorter episode, the Avatar theory that you mentioned earlier, or the Dragon Prince or something like that. Something relaxed that I don't have to do a lot of prep work for.
Well, you have to watch those videos. So
I can do that work.
I'm pretty sure you watch.
I can do that work. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not gonna be like you over there just watching a black screen while I'm rocking out over here. I can manage those videos.
Yeah.
So hey, thanks a lot for watching or listening on all of our various avenues. Now you can find us on podcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and of course YouTube. Under YouTube, look at The Objective Geek. Everywhere else, look for Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Although if you type Avatar: The Last Airbender, we're like number 10s in some of those, give or take. That comes up. So
number 10s.
Rapid number 10s,
Nice.
10s to 20s, give or take. There's a lot of Avatar podcasts, but none of them are formatted like mine. So I have no ours. Excuse me. So I have no regrets. So yeah, thanks a lot. Look us up. Listen to the rest, or at a minimum, just go watch the last 2 episodes of the first season, which we loved, and then these 2 episodes in this season. That's my only takeaways right now. It's 4 episodes in a row that are fantastic. So thanks a lot, and we will talk to you in about 2 weeks.